So I have my picture drawn out here, and I'm going to use these acrylic tube paints. So I've got a selection on these plastic lids and a lot of white in there as well, so I can mix lots of colours. And as you can see, there is a good application of masking fluid in different areas, and we've got all the texture going on, and it should make a very interesting abstract autumn picture in the end. So I'm starting now with just adding in a little bit of the turquoise colour just at this top corner behind the cobweb, and start to make a little bit of a sky effect here. So I'm brushing it on quite wet, and then I'm actually going to add in a little bit of the blue ink, the Quink ink, and brush that in with a little bit of moisture as well, just to get that moving, that lovely soft sky. And that's looking quite pretty, so I'm going to just wet it and make it spread even further. I don't want it too heavy, so I'm just going to keep moving, and I'm just going to use a pipette here to drop a couple more little dots of the ink in, and we can get that moving with a little bit of a spray and the brush. So on this top crackle panel, I'm going to put some lovely yellow, golden yellow colour, and that will look quite effective. The blue has dried, so it's not gone green, and now I'm just going to drop into the corner while it's still damp a little bit of the burnt sienna acrylic ink, my favourite, as you probably all know by now, and we'll get some water going onto that to move that around a little bit. That's looking very effective. It sinks into the crackles just to help it move a little bit more. Use this nice soft brush, and there we go. I've tipped it down so that it's nice and fluid, and now I want to add a little bit of just green to that top corner. This is a nice sap green. I will list all the colours in the comments or the description. Bringing that down, there's a little bit of turquoise in there, and add a bit more of the turquoise across and mix it nicely. Just taking a little bit of depth. That's another panel there that we've got a little bit of texture crackle going across, and that little tiny square panel there that's now underneath that cobweb. So I'm going to put some of the sort of yellowy colours just to start the base of that going. This time there's a little bit of the burnt transparent umber ink, and we've moved that down with the water and mixed a little bit of green. We've got some nice backdrops of green here. This is the golden gold green. It's beautiful. It almost looks yellow. And again, adding that beautiful ink in and letting it create the backdrop for us. And this bottom panel, this is another crackle panel. And I'm going in with the dark blue and the dark green to create the start of this base here. We'll mix some more yellow, some more sort of sunshine yellow in with that green over on this side. It's a lovely autumn shade, a bit like corn. And now back across on this side, I'm using the transparent burnt umber again, in that bottom, and I'm wetting that in with the green, and you can see how I'm just sort of mixing it in and spreading it around, getting that basis. I'm putting a little bit of white in here just to soften some of that square. Just keep a little bit of light in that area. I may come back to this later as well. And now I'm brushing that green up to the side, just continuing the colour. I'm dropping a little bit of the dark blue into there, the ink, Quink ink, and while it's wet we'll let it move and do what it wants to do naturally, helping it to spread a little bit with just a bit more water. And really I just keep adding areas. This is the, again, transparent and the blue mixed together, which creates a beautiful dark shade. So we're just going to pull that up and get that interest going up there, mixing in with those other colours. Burnt sienna, lovely warm colour, next to the dark blue looks really beautiful. Gives it that warmth. So we can see we've come on quite well here. I want to bring that turquoise back in a little bit. Just give it a little bit bluer colour to it, and pulling it down into that whitish area as well. And now I'm going to add that dark blue just under that panel. It will just bring that panel to the forefront and just create that interest there. So we've got that sectioning going on, and along that side as well. Well, every time you add a depth to it, a darker colour, it makes all the lighter colours stand out even more. It's a well-known colour effect. And darkening that little area again, just with the burnt umber ink, softening it through. We've got our little toadstools painted in roughly now, as you can see. And we're sort of creating a backdrop for them now. I'm pulling up some grasses, just roughly, just to get a feel of a sort of field effect. It's quite a gentle scene. Bit of an autumn day going on, bit of sun. And just deepening some of that colour down here, because this is the ground area. We want it to be fairly dark and as if it was in the undergrowth. Back to that top panel, which I've wet, and I'm just adding in the transparent umber ink again. And just using the flat thin brush, just wet that and make sure that it's nice and easy to pull across. It's showing the crackles up really beautifully. And just again gives that lovely contrast. And scraping with my palette knife a little bit of a red colour here, sort of a burgundy shade, which I've actually already applied to that little square on the left hand side. And again it merges with the colours and it adds a lot more depth, and it will be put onto the toadstools too, so they'll look a little bit more lifelike when they're done. Going in again, because every time we add a layer it just makes it more interesting. And I put a little bit of white here and softening the edge of this square. I want it to stand out, but I don't want it to look quite as stark as it does at the moment. It's going to sort of balance the dark red panel on the right hand side as you look at that. And we'll soften down some of those colours with a little bit of white, that burnt sienna, just softening that down, taking some of that strength out of it and just smoothing it generally. We'll make that little darker bit stand out again. Make that pop. Fill in that little bit that's a little bit too pale. It looks a little bit better there. And again, just adding more depth, more inks, until you're happy with the result. It's entirely up to you what you feel happy with here. So now you can see that I've gone ahead and I've added in little bits and pieces. I've taken off the masking fluid. You can see the white areas quite well, and I've highlighted some, added in little grasses and perked up the little toadstool colours, and I'm really pleased with the autumnal field effect. I could continue doing a lot more on this, but I think I'm happy with it.